There's been a lot of political ire directed at school curriculums in recent years, with conservative Republicans throwing around words like woke and indoctrination anytime children are exposed to stories about the LGBTQ community or lessons that accurately depict racism as an ongoing and systemic problem in America. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has put that ire into action, championing what's become known as the Don't Say Gay law, prohibiting teachers from talking to children about sexual orientation and gender identity. He's also taken aim at a new advanced placement African American studies course, which he blocked Florida high schools from teaching.
We have guidelines and standards in Florida. We want education, not indoctrination. If you fall on the side of indoctrination, we're going to decline.
After that, the College Board, which develops and oversees AP curricula across the country, started adjusting the course based on criticisms from DeSantis, sparking a backlash of its own, including from my next guest, who argues DeSantis' response underlines the very reason the United States needs an AP African American Studies course taught in schools. Khalil Gibran Muhammad, a professor of history, race, and public policy at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, joins me now. He's just back from a teach-in he led at the university today, protesting changes to the course. Professor, welcome, and thank you for coming right from your action to here to spread the word. Let's go back a little bit. What was your reaction when the AP courses and the College Board, which is a nonprofit, by the way, decided they wanted to make some changes to these courses based on what Governor DeSantis was asking them to do?
Well, I felt like it was a bridge too far. I mean, I've been watching, just like many people, the passage of so-called anti-CRT laws or divisive concept laws that essentially establish that the point of education is that students should feel good rather than actually learning the truthful history of our country, which is both beautiful and ugly. And so when the College Board seemed initially to appease the Department of Education in Florida with essentially striking from the proposed African American Studies curriculum anything more or less that happened after 1965 as being political or divisive, or queer studies, as Governor DeSantis described as not being an educational subject area that students should learn, for me was a moment to actually get involved, to say enough is enough. We have to do something about this.
Has there been a moment in history where this has happened in this way before? Understanding that, you know, you and I have talked before. I shared with you that when I was in middle school in the 70s, I didn't learn about Ida B. Wells, but I had the opportunity to homeschool my kid in middle school, and that's when I learned about Ida B. Wells, by educating her through the curriculum that they provided, and that's great news that we're learning these things. But there's always been a battle about what kids get taught, but has it ever been like this?
So that's an interesting question. So on one hand, yes, there have been fights over what American children learn. Texas, for example, just over 10 years ago, changed a lot of its curriculum to remove social movement history and to put more what they call proper conservative history. And the effect of Texas's changes around 2010 also shaped textbooks, which for Texas, as a huge buyer of textbooks, to some degree indirectly affected the entire country. So we've had some version of these. There were national standards fights in the 1990s when Lynn Cheney, Dick Cheney's wife, was the head of the leading this effort, and in her work she decided to strike again from the proposed changes then to proposed American history standards, that there be more Ronald Reagan and less Bob Moses as a local Boston hero and civil rights activist. What we are facing now, though, has never been about just the curriculum. This is about state legislation and laws that prohibit the mere discussion of. Books are being pulled from libraries in schools. For example, Ruby Bridges is not being taught to students because white children might feel bad that white parents and activists tried to block her from integrating a New Orleans school. I think this is something that we've never seen at this level and has the impact of potentially segregating half the country in terms of what they learn about the American past.
So there are a number of businesses and institutions that are all mixed up into this, right? You've got the College Board, the nonprofit that makes these AP courses that kids can then take and maybe get credit for their colleges. You've got the textbook manufacturers, you've got the textbook writers and publishers, you have the educators. What are they saying about this, right? I imagine there are conversations where they feel the push and pull about Governor DeSantis and this move. But facts are facts. I mean, history's history. These things actually happen. They're on Wikipedia.
Well, that's true. I think, so we have to think about the marketplace for curriculum as a marketplace of money making. So the College Board generates about $1 billion in revenue from its various programs, which include AP courses that are adopted by thousands of high schools around the country, as well as the SAT test. So they want to make sure that whatever product they put in the world or in this country will be sold in all 50 states. Same is true with textbooks. And in a country where white supremacy and white nationalism are on the rise as a political matter, not just in the backwoods of our country where a few people are holdouts from a long time ago, but actually people are winning legislative office on the promise of denying the January 6th riot, for example, where a prominent Confederate flag was held up in the halls of the Capitol Rotunda, which had never happened even during the Civil War. So when you have a marketplace of ideas where those kinds of retrograde racist ideas are part of the political landscape of various states in this country, it also means that people like the College Board and textbook writers have to worry whether or not their products will be viable in those places. And that's certainly part of the problem right now.
The challenge I recognize too, which has always been a challenge, is parents often don't care about education, and many adults, don't care about education until their children are in the system, are in the schools. Yeah. And often they don't care afterwards when their kids get out of the schools because they're exhausted.
Unless they're paying high property taxes for somebody else's kid.
Exactly. But they're exhausted. Their kid has moved through. And the mis and disinformation, especially around critical race theory, I had a very spirited conversation with someone asking them if they knew what the word critical meant. You know, if we just looked at what the word critical meant, that would really expand your definition of what putting critical in front of something means. What can educators do? What can reasonable thinking people do to try and help parents who are very busy and have a lot of things on their plate understand how dangerous this censorship is to their children and to America?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the same tool of engagement, which is talking to people who are not paying close attention, is the same tool that many people who self-identify on the right have done to scare them into thinking this is a terrible thing, this CRT, what is this? Why is my kid being exposed to this? But the same rules apply. People who believe that understanding the history of structural racism, the history of gender inequality, the history of attacks on sexuality, and the invisibility that people who experience these forms of identity across multiple axes, which is what intersectionality is, need our attention too. They need the focus of conversation. They need to be exposed to thoughtful conversations. They need to be organized in the same way that the right has very effectively organized people to go to school board meetings and say, no anti-CRT here. Or, as I saw colorfully, diversity means white genocide. I mean, it's remarkable to see the effectiveness of political mobilization in the opposite direction.
So you're a lot smarter than I am, and you are in this world. Can you explain to me how someone who teaches, a parent who educates their child around difficult conversations around religion, like the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, or the way that Easter is celebrated, what the meaning behind Easter is, can have such a hard time still teaching concepts of history, which are also difficult conversations, and at the same time accuse liberals and progressives of being snowflakes when it comes to progressives wanting to talk about the horrors of our history for everyone, not just one particular group. I mean, do you hear anybody giving you an argument of how they can square that off?
They can't. It can't be squared. Just like the idea of passing legislation to prohibit the exposure to ideas is done in the name and sloganeering of education, not indoctrination. I mean, that is the call sign of Florida governor. Let's not teach children about how queer people experience the world, because that's not education, that's indoctrination, which is to say, let's close off learning and be exposed to the ways that people actually live and breathe in this society, and that legislation might actually cut short their lives or be subject to discrimination, is not exposing kids to certain ideas. It's just the reverse.
So how can an educator fight back against this? I can't imagine trying to explain why Harvey Milk has a Navy carrier ship named after him, or trying to explain a whole number of things in history without talking about someone's sexual orientation or mentioning it, or talking about the importance of their gender or their gender expression in history. Are teachers reacting to this in a "why are you making my job harder" sort of way?
Oh, absolutely. I can tell you from firsthand experience, because I'm helping to lead a national movement called the Freedom to Learn movement. We have talked to the American Federation of Teachers Leadership, we've talked to the United Federation of Teachers Leadership, and the largest teachers union, the National Education Association. All of them are deeply committed to fighting against this and are using every tool that they have in their tool belt to support teachers who are severely at risk of being fired or censored, and most certainly threatened in the classroom if they should hit one of these tripwires. It's impossible to know exactly what you should do, and that's the culture of fear that is being created. The point is, do less than what you used to. That's the message that they're getting. And unfortunately, too many teachers will have to accept that bargain until we, the public, help them.
So you had an event today. What's the future? What's the plan?
The plan is to mobilize people in places like Massachusetts and other states where this is not happening, to support people in Mississippi, Alabama, Montana, and many other states. We have evidence that at least 16 states have passed anti-truth laws, anti-CRT, don't say gay, you name it, and 49 states at the local level or at the state level have attempted various anti-CRT measures. So a lot of us who may enjoy the comforts today of the freedom to learn may not tomorrow, but in the meantime, we need to travel to other places in support of organizing people to stand up. We've got a 2024 election, which isn't just about what happens in the White House, it's also about what happens in the state houses. And that is an opportunity for us to get ahead of this problem instead of waiting for the next news story of another governor somewhere else banning our ability to teach and learn.
We should not be relying on Wikipedia to tell us all the truth, right?
That's right.
I appreciate you coming in. I know you had a busy day, and I appreciate the work you're doing. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.